Quick like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. You know what's interesting about work trip lies? They're perfect alibis. Built-in excuse for overnight absences. Legitimate reason to be unreachable. Professional cover that nobody questions. Your spouse goes away for business. You trust them because work is work. Unless their boss calls your house asking why they're not at the office. My wife told me she had an overnight work trip to Richmond on Tuesday. Left Monday evening. Planned to return Tuesday night. Client presentation in the morning. Meetings all afternoon. I'll text you when I'm heading home. Tuesday at 11 a.m. Her boss called our landline. Asked if my wife was feeling better. Said she called in sick that morning and he hoped it wasn't serious. Called in sick. From her work trip. To her boss. Who had no idea she was supposed to be in Richmond. That's when I realized my wife's overnight work trip was neither overnight nor work. My name is Cameron. I'm 40 years old, and I work as an operations director for a logistics company in Raleigh, North Carolina. I spend my days coordinating schedules, verifying travel itineraries, and making sure people are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. I understand travel logistics, and I definitely understand when someone's story about being somewhere doesn't match reality. When your wife's boss calls asking why she's not at work during her work trip, that's a logistics discrepancy you can't ignore. I met Nicole 11 years ago at a friend's barbecue in downtown Raleigh. She was working as a sales manager for a software company, driven and ambitious in ways I admired. I was the logistics guy, systematic and detail-oriented. We balanced each other well. Her spontaneity against my planning. We got married 10 years ago. Bought a house in the North Hills area. A contemporary home with an open concept and a finished basement. Nicole continued in software sales, consistently hitting her targets. I advanced to operations director. Combined income around $205,000. We were successful, stable, living comfortably. For 9 years, everything was solid. Nicole traveled occasionally for work, maybe once a month, usually overnight trips to meet clients in Charlotte, Richmond, or DC. Normal sales territory stuff. I never questioned it because that's what sales managers do. Then about 6 months ago, the frequency of her trips increased. She'd always traveled sporadically, but starting last spring, the overnight trips became more regular. Once a week, sometimes twice. Always nearby cities, Richmond, Norfolk, Greensboro. The company's expanding, she explained. More clients to service. More face-to-face meetings required. It's good for my commission. It seemed reasonable. More territory, more travel. That's how sales works. But I started noticing patterns that didn't quite fit. Nicole would leave for these trips in the evening, 6 or 7 p.m. Driving up tonight, so I'm fresh for an early meeting, she'd say. But when I'd ask about the morning meetings, her details were always vague. Just a standard pitch. Client wants to see the new features. Routine check-in. She'd come home the next evening around 8 or 9 p.m., claiming afternoon meetings had run long. Her overnight bag seemed excessive for one-night trips. She'd pack like she was going for a weekend. Multiple outfits, extra shoes, full toiletries. I like having options, she'd say when I commented on it. Never know what the client situation will call for. The physical intimacy between us had decreased. We'd gone from regular connection to occasional to rare. Just exhausted from all the travel, she'd explain. Sleeping in hotels is draining. Her phone behavior had become more protective too. Always face down, always password protected, taking calls in other rooms. But I didn't question it deeply because work travel is work travel. Sales managers travel. It's part of the job. Last Monday, Nicole mentioned another trip. Overnight to Richmond tomorrow. Big client presentation in the morning. I'll probably drive up tonight around 7, get settled, prep for the meeting. Should be home by 8 or 9 tomorrow night. Which client? Stratford Medical Systems. They're looking at a major software upgrade. Big opportunity for commission. Good luck with it. Thanks. I'll text you updates. She left Monday evening around 7 p.m. Kissed me goodbye, grabbed her overnight bag, headed out. Texted me at 8:30 p.m. Just checked into the hotel. Going to review my presentation, then crash. Love you. I texted back. Sleep well. Kill it tomorrow. Tuesday morning, I went to work as usual. Operations meetings, coordinating shipping schedules. Normal day. At 11:15 a.m., our landline rang at home. We still have a landline, older habit, emergency backup, whatever. Nicole's work contacts have a number. I wasn't home, but we have voicemail that forwards to my email as audio files. Old system, but it works. The message was from a man identifying himself as Robert Patterson, Nicole's boss. Hi, Nicole. This is Robert. You called in sick this morning, and I just wanted to check in, make sure you're okay. We've got the Hendricks proposal due Friday, and I wanted to make sure you're feeling well enough to finalize it. Give me a call when you can. Hope you feel better soon. I listened to that message 3 times. Nicole's boss. Calling to check on her, because she called in sick that morning. But Nicole wasn't home sick. Nicole was in Richmond on a work trip. At least, that's what she told me. I called Nicole's cell. It rang 4 times, went to voicemail. Hey, it's me. Call me when you get a chance. I called her office directly. Asked for Robert Patterson. This is Robert. Hi, Robert. This is Cameron Hayes, Nicole's husband. Oh, hi, Cameron. Is Nicole okay? She sounded pretty rough this morning when she called in. My stomach dropped. When did she call you? Around 8:30 this morning. Said she woke up feeling terrible, wasn't going to make it in today. I told her to rest up and feel better. Robert, I need to ask you something. Did Nicole have a client presentation scheduled in Richmond today? Richmond? No. Why would you think that? Because Nicole told me she had an overnight work trip to Richmond. Said she was meeting with Stratford Medical Systems this morning for a big presentation. There was silence on the line. Cameron, we don't have any clients in Richmond, and I've never heard of Stratford Medical Systems. Nicole's territory is Raleigh and the Triangle area. She doesn't do overnight trips. All her clients are local. The floor felt like it was shifting under me. She doesn't do overnight trips? No. Has she been telling you she's traveling for work? For the past 6 months. Once or twice a week. Overnight trips to Richmond, Norfolk, Greensboro. She said the company was expanding her territory. Cameron, that's not true. Nicole's territory hasn't changed in 3 years. She works from the Raleigh office and meets local clients. She's never been required to do overnight travel. So when she's told me she's on work trips, she's been lying to you. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. Robert, has Nicole actually been calling in sick on these days? She's supposedly traveling. Let me check. I heard him typing. Yes. Looking at her time off records, she's used 12 sick days in the past 6 months. Always single days, always with short notice. 12 sick days. 12 overnight work trips. The numbers matched exactly. Robert, thank you for the information. I need to go. Cameron, I'm sorry. If there's anything, I appreciate it. I hung up, sat at my desk, processing everything. Nicole had been faking work trips for 6 months. She'd tell me she was traveling for work, then call her boss claiming to be sick. She'd leave our house with an overnight bag, supposedly heading to client meetings, but actually going where? And her boss had no idea about any of it until I called. I pulled up our cell phone account, checked Nicole's location history. We had a family plan with location sharing enabled for safety. Monday night when she texted me from the hotel in Richmond, her location showed she was in Durham. Not Richmond. Durham. 30 minutes from our house. I zoomed in on the exact location. It was a residential address. A townhouse complex in downtown Durham. Not a hotel. Not Richmond. Durham townhouse. She'd lied about where she was. Lied about the work trip. And called in sick to her actual job, so she'd have Tuesday free to continue whatever she was doing in Durham. I left work early. Told my team I had a family emergency. Drove to the Durham address where Nicole's location had shown last night. Found the townhouse complex. Nice area, modern units, clearly not a hotel. Nicole's car was parked in the lot. I recognized her license plate immediately. At 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, when she was supposedly in client meetings in Richmond, her car was parked at a townhouse complex in Durham. I parked across the street and waited. At 4:30 p.m., Nicole emerged from one of the units. She wasn't alone. A man was with her, mid-30s, wearing business casual, smiling at something she said. They stopped next to her car. He pulled her close, kissed her, said something that made her laugh. Then she got in her car, and he went back inside the townhouse. Nicole had spent the day at this man's townhouse while her boss thought she was homesick, and I thought she was in Richmond at a client presentation. I followed her car from a distance. She drove toward Raleigh, stopped at a Target, went inside for 30 minutes, came out with a shopping bag, building her alibi, making it look like she'd been out running errands while sick. She headed home. I waited 15 minutes, then drove home myself. Walked in at 5:45 p.m. Nicole's car was in the garage. I could hear her upstairs. Cameron? That you? Yeah, I'm home. She came downstairs wearing different clothes than she'd had on at the townhouse. Fresh outfit. Hair redone. Makeup touched up. You're home early, she said. I thought you'd be at work until 6. Wrapped up sooner than expected. How was Richmond? Richmond? Your work trip. The Stratford medical presentation. How'd it go? Her face went slightly pale. Oh, right. It went well. They're interested in moving forward. That's great. When did you get back? About an hour ago. Traffic was light coming back. Did you come straight home from Richmond? Yes. What? Just asking. Seems like you made good time. Richmond to here in an hour is impressive. Well, I left right after the last meeting ended. I pulled out my phone. Nicole, your boss Robert called the house today. She froze. What? Left a voicemail around 11:30. Said you called in sick this morning and he wanted to check that you were feeling okay. I can explain. He also told me something interesting. Said you don't have any clients in Richmond. Said your territory hasn't changed in 3 years. Said you've never been required to do overnight work travel. She sank onto the couch. Cameron. I called him back. Asked about Stratford Medical Systems. He's never heard of them. Asked about your overnight trips. He said they don't exist. You work local clients only. Please let me explain. I checked your location from last night. You weren't in Richmond. You were in Durham. At a townhouse address. I drove there this afternoon. Found your car parked there at 2 p.m. Watched you come out at 4:30 with a man. Watched you kiss him. Followed you to Target where you stopped to buy things to make it look like you'd been homesick all day. She was crying now, but I continued. So here's what actually happened. You told me you had a work trip to Richmond. You called your boss Tuesday morning, claiming to be sick. You actually spent Monday night and Tuesday at a man's townhouse in Durham. Then you came home and lied about client presentations that never existed. I'm sorry. How long has this been going on? 6 months. All those overnight work trips? Yes. You tell me you were traveling for work, call in sick to your actual job, and spend the time with him. Yes. Who is he? His name is Brad. I met him at a conference last year. We started talking, then meeting up. And you've been using fake work trips to see him. 12 sick days in 6 months, all matching your overnight trips. You told me Stratford Medical, told your boss you were sick, and spent the time at Brad's townhouse. I didn't know how else to see him. You could have been honest. Asked for a divorce. Not conducted a 6-month affair while lying to both me and your employer. I pulled out my phone again. I'm calling Robert back. Why? Because you've been defrauding your company. Using sick days to conduct a personal affair while claiming work travel to your spouse. That's workplace fraud. You'll get me fired. You got yourself fired the moment you started lying to your boss to cover an affair. I called Robert Patterson. Put on speaker. Robert, it's Cameron Hayes again. I need to tell you something about Nicole's sick days. What's going on, Cameron? Nicole hasn't been sick on those 12 days she called in. She told me she was on overnight work trips, Richmond, Norfolk, Greensboro. She'd leave Monday evenings, call you Tuesday morning claiming to be sick, and actually spend the time with someone she's been having an affair with. She's been using sick leave to conduct an affair? Yes. She'd tell me it was work travel, tell you it was illness, and actually be in Durham with her boyfriend. I have proof if you need it. Location data, timeline of events, everything. Cameron, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. But yes, I'll need that information. If she's been misusing sick leave for personal reasons, that's a violation of company policy. I'll send you everything. I hung up. Nicole was staring at me in horror. You just destroyed my career. You destroyed your career when you committed workplace fraud to cover an affair. I just reported it. Where am I supposed to go? Go to Brad's townhouse in Durham. You've been spending enough time there anyway. I can't. Then find a hotel. But you're not staying here. This is my house too. This is the house you'd leave every week telling me you had work trips. Where you'd pack overnight bags for fake business meetings. Where you'd come home and describe client presentations that never happened. You don't get to call it home anymore. She packed a bag. Left around 8 p.m. I called my attorney that night. Her name was Margaret Stevens. My wife's been having an affair for 6 months. She'd tell me she had overnight work trips, call in sick to her actual job, and spend the time with her boyfriend. I found out when her boss called asking why she wasn't at work during her work trip. Margaret was quiet for a moment. She was using fake work trips to cover an affair. 12 times in 6 months. She'd tell me she was traveling to Richmond or Norfolk for client meetings. She'd call her boss, claiming to be sick. She'd actually be at her boyfriend's townhouse in Durham. That's systematic fraud, both maritally and potentially in the workplace. I informed her boss today. She'll likely be fired. That strengthens your position significantly. She committed workplace fraud to facilitate an affair. Nicole was fired 2 days later. Robert Patterson called to tell me they'd investigated and terminated her employment for misuse of sick leave and violation of company ethics policies. The divorce moved quickly. Nicole had no leverage. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages claiming work travel, sick day records from her employer, location data showing she was in Durham, photos of her at Brad's townhouse. We settled after 5 weeks. I kept the house. I'd paid the entire down payment. Nicole got 25% of joint accounts. No spousal support. 10 years of marriage ended because her boss called asking why she wasn't at work during her work trip. I heard what happened after. Brad didn't want Nicole moving in with him. He'd enjoyed the affair, but wasn't ready for a full-time relationship with someone who'd just been fired and divorced. He ended things within 2 weeks. Nicole moved to Charlotte, trying to rebuild her career with a different company. About a year later, I met someone at a logistics conference. Her name was Jennifer, supply chain manager. Straightforward, honest about her schedule. On our 3rd date, she asked about my divorce. My ex-wife told me she had overnight work trips. Turned out she was calling in sick to her job and spending the time with her boyfriend. I found out when her boss called our house asking why she wasn't at work. Jennifer's eyes widened. Her boss called you, left a voicemail checking on her since she called in sick. But she told me she was in Richmond on a business trip. When I called her boss back, he said she didn't have any business trips. All her clients were local. So, she was lying to both of you. For 6 months. Told me she was traveling for work. Told her boss she was sick. Actually spent the time at her boyfriend's place. What did you do? Checked her location. Drove to where she actually was. Caught her leaving his townhouse. Confronted her when she came home with her fake story about client presentations. We've been together 8 months. Jennifer doesn't have fake work trips. When she travels for actual work, I can verify it with her company if I wanted to. Not that I need to. She just tells the truth. My wife's overnight work trip ended when her boss called asking why she wasn't at the office. She was supposed to be in Richmond, presenting to Stratford Medical Systems. Big client opportunity. Except Stratford Medical didn't exist. She had no clients in Richmond, and her boss had no idea she was supposed to be traveling. Because she wasn't traveling. She was in Durham, at Brad's townhouse, using sick days to cover an affair, telling me it was work, telling her boss it was illness, telling Brad it was love. All lies. Exposed by one phone call, from a boss checking on his employee, not knowing he was calling during a work trip. That wasn't a work trip. The overnight work trip that ended. When her boss called, asking why she wasn't at the office.